with you today.
Good morning. How are things there?
Pretty good. Nice. Maybe I'm going to call it an early spring day here in the New York City area. And Jack, you've been looking at a lot of topics related to mobile payments, and you pointed out on Twitter this week that China is the big leader in using mobile payments. 36% of transactions. India is ahead of many countries. European countries all still seem to be ahead of the United States in mobile payment usage. What do you think? Is the U.S. going to catch up?
I think eventually they will. China and Scandinavia, from a mobile phone perspective, has always been ahead of the U.S. From my old mobile days when I worked for a company called Cellular One, if you remember, way back when, the European countries and China were always ahead of the game. And so rightfully so, when it comes to mobile payments and utilization of those features on the phone, they certainly are. I think it was 36% that you and I talked about earlier today is where China's mobile payment usage is versus 3% for the U.S. But the U.S. is catching up, for sure.
Hey, interesting project you mentioned on Twitter between Goldman Sachs and Apple to create a credit card platform to make it more convenient on iPhones to make transactions. Tell us a little bit about what you find out about that so far.
Yeah, it's along the same lines of trying to find utilization for mobile payments. And so there's a natural creation then of credit cards on the phone themselves, where the transaction is driven through the phone itself, as opposed to taking our existing technologies of applying the phone and its number to the Apple Pay features. So what Goldman and Apple are trying to do is create that card environment wrapped into the phone instantly, as opposed to through plastic, for example.
Very good.
Yep.
And one other idea you mentioned is trying to help people with small transactions when you creating an app so you can tip someone in a restaurant or someone helping you out. So you can help customers with transactions that they've been still relying on cash for. How is that going to work?
Yeah, it's a great question, Ken. There's something called a cash gap that exists out there. And maybe for potentially old timers like you and me, right, who are more used to having bills in our pocket, there's becoming an increased use among millennials and even Gen Zs where they don't carry cash. And so how do you then tip a valet, or how do you tip a waiter in a different environment than what we're normally used to? So there's even apps out there now that allow for those types of cash gap transactions, which are kind of cool. And then it begs the next topic, and I don't know if I'm jumping ahead of things here with you, but it begs the next topic of how do you manage the wallet on your phone specifically? You know, something that we, in our old time days, am I jumping ahead a little bit here on you or no? You know, we used to talk about top of wallet all the time. Like, how do you get a consumer to pull your particular card out versus another's in a wallet environment, right? A very traditional wallet or purse. And so that's another big challenge, is how does the card become the primary card that's used for Uber, for example, or rideshare programs, or how is it used for restaurants, or when you scan it, say a Walgreens or a CVS to buy something, it's typically the defaulted card that's at the top of the list. Now you can, in Apple Pay and Samsung Pay and all those other mobile payment environments, you can select which card you want to use. Oftentimes, though, it's whatever default card is there if you're looking for a quick transaction. So I think that's going to be the next big challenge for credit card issuers, is how do you get your card to be top of app as opposed to just top of wallet?
Well, Jack Hojnar, calling in from Chicago. Anything else top of mind for you today?
Yes, warming up because it's 25 degrees here. So I hope it gets a little warmer this weekend. That's all I've got for you, Ken.
Hey, that's good. It'll warm up. Spring is getting close. Baseball teams are practicing. Jack Hojnar, Chief Marketing Officer of CBSIServices. Great to chat with you today on the business. And more information about CBSIServices, just go to our website, CBSIServices.com. For Talking Business from our headquarters in Harrison, New York, this is Ken Kraetzer.